Hello and welcome to the IRN-CRU podcast, the American football podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. This is the News Crew, and I'm your host, Keith McGinty. The NFL is a sport that never rests, and teams are already gearing up for the 2024 season. We are the podcast that never rests, and we're back to look over the week's news for you guys. To do so, I'm joined by one of our finest crew members and a very special guest. First up, we have Dan, the Lone Star Cowboy. Dan, it's great to have you back. How are we, buddy?
Good to be back. You say the podcast never rest, but I've been busy the last few weeks and I've not been on, so I've had a bit of a rest. So it's good to get back. We're starting to get back into the OTAs have started, mini camps started. We're starting to get back into seeing some stuff happening and some actual news to talk about, which is exciting. Yes. So I'm glad to be back.
We've been recharging the batteries. It's a long season in the NFL, especially the off-season as well. But we've been recharging the batteries, get some great ideas ready to go for the season ahead. So we'll be putting them into fruition in the next couple of weeks, next month or so. But without further ado, let's go on to our very special guest there. You'll be able to see him down at the bottom there. Our special guest is a cartoonist from Edinburgh, whose way of simplifying Scottish Fitba into quickly drawn digital art has seen his sketches feature in Nutmeg Football magazine and numerous Scotland Daz bellies over in Germany as we prepare for the start of the Euros. We are absolutely delighted to welcome Keith from Fitba Tweets. Keith, welcome to the podcast. How are we?
I'm very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
It's an absolute pleasure. Is that we were speaking off air before we started when we saw some of your pictures when it was around about Super Bowl time and then draft time with the NFL. It was a no-brainer. We had to try our very best to get you on, and we're just delighted. We managed to get you just in the eve of the Euros for Scotland, which no doubt is going to be an incredibly busy time for yourself.
I'm sure it's going to be, yeah.
So tell us a wee bit about Fitba Tweets. How long have you been doing this yourself, and is this your full-time job now?
Yeah, this is my full-time job. I started doing this as a hobby. I used to do it at work when I worked in big corporate. I just kind of doodled work-related stuff and posted cartoons there. They had their own kind of social media network, and it became one of the most popular accounts in the whole company. So it became a bit of a kind of influencer that way, and that made me think about doing it outside of just work stuff. And I was getting quite bored with how Scottish football was going and just watching it, and so I decided to draw some football players as stickmen and recreate goals, and it caught on pretty quickly back in 2018, and has kind of grown organically since then. And a couple of years ago, I gave it up my lifelong work as a bean counter to try being a cartoonist full time, and it's worked pretty well so far.
Amazing.
So just keeps growing and growing, and very, very busy kind of all the time. And there's always new stuff to draw, always new stuff in Scottish football, and hopefully there's going to be plenty of stuff to draw in American football as well.
Well, that's it. You're able to branch out now. Scottish football are absolutely ripe for taking the piss out of, which I think you do really, really well. And you, as we said at your introduction there, just the way that you can capture the actual moments of games. Dan and I were talking how after games we're always scrolling through, and we look forward to seeing the pictures from yourself. They always get shared in the group chats as well. The humour that you bring to it is just fantastic. So absolutely brilliant. And looking forward to seeing more of your American football stuff. Who are some of the people that you've actually worked with then?
So I've done stuff with, originally or early doors, it was with BT Sport. I've done stuff for the BBC in Scotland and BBC Sport in general. Nutmeg magazine that you mentioned at the front, I've got a piece in every issue of that now. It's like a kind of regular thing. I've done some political stuff as well in magazines. Done stuff with the SPFL, Scottish Football Museum. And a few other things as well. I can't remember just now, but doing stuff with the NFL UK at the Super Bowl was really exciting for me personally. So that's been that's one that I'm looking forward to carrying on with.
Yeah, you said to us before we came on, Keith, that you really enjoy talking about American football. So getting to do the Super Bowl with NFL UK, that must have been kind of massive for you. It must have been a great moment for you.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how big a deal it was for them, but it was a really big deal for me. And it was a real challenge to try and draw that kind of stuff. I think with football, with Scottish football, and if you're drawing stuff from the news headlines, you can kind of get a take on that relatively quickly. When I'm drawing the goals, you aim to get them out within 10 to 12 minutes of the goal going in. So and you can get a really quite good feel for that. To try and draw a touchdown in that same way is pretty difficult. Especially with you can't make players particularly distinguishable from one another. You can get I don't draw jersey numbers when I'm doing regular football, but because you can recognise who the players are.
Yeah.
But with this, you've got to pay attention to numbers involved. How many players can you get? And you're going to get the quarterback in, you're going to get maybe the receiver and the defender on that play if you're trying to do it really quickly. So that's a real challenge to try and do them that quickly, and whether or not I need to kind of keep doing that, or if I take more of a reflective view on that and do them maybe like a bit more kind of post-game look backs. I've not really decided yet.
I think the good thing about the NFL is post-game lasts for days, especially, I mean, it's like if it's like prime-time games, the analysis goes on for days, so I think you probably have the scope to do something later that night or the next morning and it'll still be relevant, whereas like you say, with Fitba, it needs to be instant. Just when you say something there about players being recognisable, I've always had a massive fan of your Leila Abada Ghost one. I thought that was hilarious. Probably the only one you've done that is not recognisable unless you know the story. So the Ghost was always hilarious.
The good thing with that one is that you would get people in the comments saying, "Who's the ghost?" or "Why is he a ghost?" And I never had to answer it because there'd always be a Celtic fan who would answer it for me.
Superb.
Be a pedantic like that. What about the Scotland team then heading over to Germany? I take it you're not heading over yourself?
No. I mean, it's great seeing on Twitter all the people that go to that. They're the dedicated, hardcore Scotland supporters. I'm not really. I don't go to a lot of football matches nowadays. But so I'm not really kind of feeling, I'm missing out by not being in Munich or whatever. Quite happy to watch it from afar and take it all in that way. But I mean, it should be fun. I think we've got a fair chance getting through into the knockouts. Let's see how it goes tomorrow.
Oh, fingers crossed. I can't wait. I'm watching it in the house with my oldest son. He's just got the football bug in the past couple of years. So, very much looking forward to that and kind of wait to see what artwork you come up with it from it as well. We can see that you have your Chicago Bears gear on. How did you become a Bears fan? How did you get into NFL in the first place?
Okay, so I remember summer of 1986. I didn't know much about American football, but I think it was around about August time, and the Bears and the Cowboys were coming to Wembley to play an exhibition game. So it was on the news, and it was like the refrigerator was on the news, and all. It was all across. It was a bit of a novelty thing.
Yeah.
So obviously the Bears had won the Super Bowl then. So being a kind of glory hunter, and you pick your team, and it wasn't going to be the Dallas Cowboys. Sorry. I kind of just got really into that and started getting there was First Down weekly magazine, and you would have Touchdown magazine. I think it was Touchdown, Gridiron, and First Down all at that time. And I just kind of got really into it. And obviously the TV coverage wasn't great in 86. Like you get like the highlight show and things like that. So you wouldn't even know what the scores were directly after, on the Sunday night. I think there was a premium phone thing. You could get the scores on a Monday morning or something like that. And then by about a year, by a year, I was kind of obsessive about it. I had my whole bedroom was decorated with the center of First Down magazine. Used to be a player poster. My entire room was the player posters, and I used to listen to Armed Forces Network on 600 and something medium wave or something like that, and you get the shipping forecast going in and out, and you just get waves of noise, and then sometimes you'd be able to pick up the commentary from the games. But it was always better for the overnight games, like Monday Night Football. And that it was a little bit clearer because there was less interference. I think it was really quite close to the one of the medium wave frequencies for one of the BBC channels, because that used to come in all the time and you couldn't hear the NFL stuff, and then it would come back. But I can still remember listening to Bears Vikings on Monday Night Football overnight at 2 in the morning in my room, listening to Armed Forces Network. That's where it all kicked off. And then from there,
did it have the UK commentators, or was this the proper American commentators coming through?
It was the American commentators. There's guys who did it for the global Armed Forces. I think it was based in Germany. The feed comes, or the channel was in Germany. So you kind of just relied on that.
And then just need a trip down memory lane, because my dad used to buy Boston magazine all the time. I used to read it all the time. But something you said about American Forces Network, I used to go home on the train on a Sunday night, around about 6 o'clock. My dad would have American Forces Network on in the train on the way home, and that's my first memory of American football, was listening to American Forces Network on a Sunday night, and my dad's portable radio on the way home the train. It's just such a trip down memory lane, but nostalgia there for me. Thank you for that.
That's it. I mean, compared to what you get now, it's just incredible the coverage we've got now compared to then. But then, Channel 4 started to do live games once every so often, and about I don't know if it was about 89, 90, something like that. I remember the Bears opening the season against the Bengals in a game there just after Walter Payton had retired, so that would be late 80s. I just became more and more into it. I've never been to Chicago, never seen the Bears play in Chicago. I saw them in 1997 against Pittsburgh Steelers at Croke Park for a pre-season game, and this was an amazing experience, because me and my wife happened to be staying in the same hotel we discovered as the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we just asked, what hotel are the Bears staying in? And they told us which hotel it was. So we just hoofed it along to there, sat in the foyer of the hotel, and basically had full access to the coaches, the players, everything all night. So I got my pictures taken with just about every player, head coach, all that kind of stuff. The game itself was absolute crap, but that was a tremendous experience. And then I saw them again against the Buccaneers in a proper regular season game at Wembley in 2011, I think it was.
Being at a pre-season game in Dublin, you've probably seen more of the starters than the crowd did, being a pre-season game. But we weren't very good, and we haven't been very good for a long time. There's always that hope, a different kind of hope than the hope you don't get in Scottish football when you don't support one of the big two. You kind of how it's going to pan out usually, but with the NFL, there's always hope, and
it's one of the socialist aspects to American football, I think, is just how everybody gets a chance to rise. Not everybody, of course, is going to win the Super Bowl. There's 4 or 5 teams that still haven't got to the Super Bowl itself. But I love how every team, even though they might have a horrible couple of seasons, but you can see how transformative it's been for the Bears. What's your hopes for the season ahead then? Do you think Caleb's going to be able to do it?
It's a really exciting season because they're going to be on Hard Knocks.
Yeah,
they're playing in the Hall of Fame game with Devin Hester and that getting enshrined in the Hall of Fame. Devin Hester is my absolute favourite all-time player, and my youngest daughter's called Devin after him, which nice. She's 17 now, and she's not really sure she's a fan of that. But I think this is I've probably said it before to myself. This is the most exciting season going. I think Matt Nagy's first season in charge was just the anticipation of that. You thought, actually, this is going to be great, and it wasn't, and I couldn't stand him as a coach. But I actually think I'm still not sold at all on Eberflus as the head coach, but the players we've assembled, and Caleb Williams is going to be amazing. I'm absolutely convinced of it. And draft night, when we picked Roma Dunze as well, I just about hit the roof with that one. That was just phenomenal. So I think it's just the most exciting time to be a Bears fan for a long time. I'm really excited for it.
The guys
he's already
fed up with hearing me talking about Roma Dunze. So you thought, sorry, you go.
He's just got to say in the news this week. This one wee bit we'll cover is that he's already mentioned that he's aiming for Puka Nakua's rookie record already, and you love that confidence already from him. It's such a, like you say, the weapons that Caleb's got to be able to throw to is that they are going to be. I don't know how much they're going to be able to improve the record this year. We've got one of our guys is massive into stats, and he talks about how a really good draft and getting like the first pick is only worth it maybe 2 or 3 extra wins in the season. I think Bears fans have got to be very, very confident of adding a few more wins to their season.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're really coming on a game in the second half of last season anyway. Yeah. So I think like all the weapons are there. I think Caleb will be brilliant. The only game I've actually watched of him playing in full was the game against Notre Dame, which was his worst game in the whole of college. But you know, when you look at the highlights, he's just phenomenal. So I think it's going to be great. I think he's going to be great. I'm just really looking forward to it.
So what I was going to say there earlier on is the guys in the podcast, Keith, are absolutely fed up hearing me talk about Roma Dunze. I watched a lot of him last year at Washington with Michael Penix, and I didn't stop talking about him all last season. He is going to be an absolute superstar, and I think teaming. We go into the NFL. I thought he's going to do brilliant in the NFL already. Pairing him up with Williams to give you, I think you're going to see a kind of new kind of Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase kind of relationship. Mm-hmm. I think that's your quarterback receiver partnership for many, many years to come, and I think both of them have got the talent to both go to the top level, which I think, yeah. I pick players every year that I just rave about. He just happened to be last year's one.
I mean, I think with DJ Moore is obviously a class receiver anyway.
Yes.
And then they've added Keenan Allen, who maybe it's just like a bit of might be like the one for this season to let Odunze develop and get used to the NFL a bit, because he's your kind of possession guy. But then I suppose we've got a receiver for all three of the positions really that we need. And I mean, on paper, we should be really good. Yeah. Beat the Packers, that's for damn sure.
Have they improved the O-line enough, do you think?
Probably not, but I think it was like, I don't think there's the depth there, but I think that there's a couple of guys that like can improve just for that experience, Tevin Jenkins and that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be enough. I think with I think it should hold up. But injuries can just change everything in the NFL, particularly if you get a quarterback injury. How many teams are absolutely goosed if the quarterback goes down?
Yeah, I'm just looking at your depth chart now. If you get an injury to Caleb Williams, you're gobbled.
I know.
Chart right now.
Yeah.
It's good. He's made some really good pickups in the off-season. Keenan Allen, I think, is a very, very smart pickup. I think he's not going to go and set the head of the light, but he will give you, if you're 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, he will get you that catch.
Yeah.
But also, he's also still got the build that he'll go up and make contested catches as well. I think Keenan Allen, very surprised. I don't know about a two-way thing, but I'm very surprised that the Chargers let him go. But obviously, I think he's in a great landing spot. He's going to be great for Caleb Williams and the locker room, his leadership as well. As a rookie quarterback coming in, you're going to need that. You need that. And I don't know, looking at the rest of the roster in terms of the offensive side of the ball, there's not as much kind of experience in there. It kind of can be a locker room leader. So I think he'll be huge for Caleb Williams in that aspect as well.
It's kind of like Adam Thielen was for Bryce Young last year. Just that safety blanket, someone that you get it close to them, they're going to be able to contest, they're going to be able to catch. Maybe something like that will be quite important for them. Excellent. Well, definitely, as we said, going to be an exciting year ahead. It's the off season for the Bears, isn't it? Great time to catch the team. It's just going to be filled with optimism. Something that we're bursting with in Scotland just now, which is great. I'm really looking forward to it. When does it start? Hard Knocks?
I don't know.
He's got
It's
another
usually
month.
like first week of training camp. But I think they'll do something because they're playing the Hall of Fame game. I think they'll do something that covers that first week.
Yeah, I think we've still got the Giants one till July, I think. So I think we've still got another couple of weeks of the Giants one being filmed. So that'll then get released whenever that is. I'm just trying to see if there's a release date for it yet, but I can't see anything at the moment.
I think we'll have it covered.
August
Normally
6th,
we'd have a
August the 6th for the first episode of Bears Hard Knocks. August the 6th.
Amazing.
Looking
forward
fantastic.
to it. Plenty of time for them to get loads of great bits of quality there for us to watch. Now, another team who had a big ceremony yesterday, would have been the New England Patriots inducting Tom Brady into their own Hall of Fame. Not only that, they also retired the number 12 jersey. Now, this is a tradition throughout American sports where the players have made massive contributions to the sides. They get the honour of their top being retired. Is this a tradition that you guys think? Keith, I'll come to you first for this. Is this a tradition you're fond of? Do you think it's something that could translate over to Scottish Fitba? Being able to retire Willow Flood from Dundee United's Hall of Fame?
I don't think it would really work because I know that like squad player numbers now in football are like ridiculous, but you're always going to be picking from guys who played either 1 to 11, aren't you? And you could almost like retire if you were going to retire one for a club, you could pick somebody that's played that every number 1 to 11 and retire all 11 of them.
Yeah.
Which, you know, in a strange way, might not be a bad thing. You could do that. But otherwise, it doesn't really work. I was thinking about it with like, you would retire number 6 Willie Miller for Aberdeen or something like that, and we're saying like, whoever like, if you retired the number 7 and said this is for Kenny Dalglish or something like that at Celtic, then you'd be like, what about Henrik Larsson? Is it his number? I know like Birmingham retired Jude Bellingham's number, didn't they?
Yes,
he's like number 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you had a player who played an unusual number for a number of years in the future, then maybe. But right now, you'd be picking from guys 1 to 11, and it wouldn't really make much sense unless there was something special circumstances where a team might do that. But I couldn't see it catching on here.
Birmingham just seemed like the jilted ex-girlfriend before they just make it big. They're just trying to keep on the coattails somehow. Remember, I used to take me up to the Palace discos every Friday night. No, I'm not a fan of it myself. Like you said, the number 7, you're looking for who's going to fill that role next. Each generation seems to get a new hero, which I'm absolutely delighted with. My own son, he's a massive Diogo fan, and that's his star striker. I know he wears number 8. For me, I loved Craig Burley whenever I was growing up. That was number 8, and then Scott Brown. Just how each generation just gets to have their own hero. Dan, what about yourself? Is there any numbers that you would retire, or are you a fan of it yourself?
I agree with you guys. I just don't think it translates at all, because the points you guys have made, like Keith made some really good points. You could retire a full starting 11 if you really want to with some teams, you know what I mean? But ones I've pulled a couple of examples together where it could potentially work, and one of them actually is happening. So, and both of them are actually international football. So Argentina, when Messi retires, have said they're retiring the number 10 shirt. But Messi wore it and Maradona wore it, so you can understand that. You know what I mean? And Brazil could probably retire number 10 for Pele, but is it maybe a wee bit too late? You should have maybe done that before, but it wasn't a tradition then. But I think the problem with football is that numbers are traditional for positions. Do you know what I mean? It's like your number 9 is your main striker, your number 7, your number 11 are your wingers. So I think people growing up and kids growing up, especially I was anyway, your hero plays in that number, so you want to be that number. So if you become a footballer, you want to wear the number that your hero wore. So, I mean, if one of us ever get lucky to play for the team you supported, if you're a Henrik Larsson fan, you're going to want that number 7 shirt when you get to Celtic. You don't want it to not be there. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it translates, and I think the numbers actually have a lot of significance in football in general across international and club football, that it means a lot to the fans as well as the players as well. So I just don't think it would translate at all. But it's a big thing in American sports, but they have got 99 numbers really to choose from, so they can retire whatever number they want. Do you know what I mean? So just because number 12 goes at the Patriots, the next quarterback can come in and pick up number 14. It doesn't really make a massive impact to American football, and they can use it to show their gratitude to their players.
How long do you think until we have the number 0 getting introduced into our game? I know we've got.
I was just about to.
It's been.
I used to have a 0 top for Zero Ali that played for Aberdeen.
Yeah, I remember you wore that.
I wore that to the cup final when Jim Leighton got stretchered off after 4 minutes against Rangers, and we got gubbed 4-0 because that was that. I'm not a big fan, I must admit, of like the zeros happening in the NFL. I know that Bears ownership have said they won't have a number 0. Anybody playing 0 for them, which I know they're quite traditional in their way of thinking.
Is it Ridley at the Titans that's got it just now?
I think it is actually.
Might have. I know Roquan Smith, I think, plays with 0 in Baltimore, I think. DeAndre Swift at the Bears now, he played 0 for Philadelphia last year. Yeah, I don't like it.
I don't like it, but I don't like it on the defensive side of the ball either. I mean, I can get it.
Exactly. That's what. Yeah.
Maybe get it. Yeah, maybe a running back or a receiver, but a linebacker wearing 0.
But I'm not a fan of when they opened up like the smaller numbers to defensive players and that anyway, to see like safeties and cornerbacks wearing numbers 1 to 10.
Yeah.
Nah, it just doesn't.
William Gallas at Arsenal with the number 10. That just doesn't work. It's not right.
I think else. Zidane wore 5, which was a bit. Is that when he took that was traditional a centre back's number when he took it? But there was somebody else in the Premier League that played a stupid, ridiculous, weird number.
I mean, I talked about Bellingham. He plays 5 as well for Real Madrid.
I see. There was another. What number Gallas wore again, Keith?
Oh, yeah, it was 10 was the one at Arsenal. I remember
Chelsea player was a striker or something like that, wore 2. I'm sure that it might be. I remember there being a Chelsea striker wearing a ridiculously low number in recent times, last few years. I think it might have been number 2 or something. I can't remember what it was. I'll find it. Come back to it.
At Euro 96, Scotland numbers were based on number of caps.
Was it?
And that's why McCoist was wearing 5 when he scored against Switzerland.
What a goal that was.
So
that's our statistic of the week.
There you go. I think that, like we're talking about, like positionally, I think the same thing works in the NFL. It's like positionally, you just look for players that are a certain number. It just looks weird to me that you've got defensive players with numbers 1 to 10. But also in football in general, soccer football, I'm not a big fan of like some of the ridiculous numbers that you have. And to me, I think there was a couple of examples, like last year, Aberdeen towards the end of the season were almost playing 1 to 11. I think they had one player who wasn't the goalkeeper, was number 20 odd, and we actually had 2 to 11 in the team, which usually is quite a good sign. Because to me, at the start of the season, those are your main guys that you were counting on. And the teams that are doing badly are the ones who've got guys who are playing in 20s and 30s and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you see that team sheet come out, you're like, what position are they playing? Because especially when clubs just put them in number order on the team sheets. Oh my God.
I know. I'm not a fan of that. Right, gentlemen, let's get on with some of the this week's news then. There were some things that popped up in the last week as well. We can cover it as well. But just running through, shared the rundown with you. We'll go for first thing pops up then is we'll go for the training camp absentees. Dan, you'd mentioned that you've got a wee note of some of the absentees and the reasons behind them. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, of course. The first one we'll talk about is one of the most high-profile ones is that Aaron Rodgers missing minicamp. But Robert Saleh was asked about it, and he was saying it's an unexcused absence. But I think that people read it more than it actually was. I think some of the players can basically say, "I'm not coming." The Jets then say, "We weren't letting them," but they're not really making a big deal of it. So Aaron Rodgers, one seems to be he's on holiday, and it's something that he'd spoke to Robert Saleh about it, and Robert Saleh knew all about it and knew he wasn't going to be there. So there isn't really a story there. It's unexcused because the Jets want him there, but he's told them, "I've got this." So his exact words were, "It's unexcused, but he had an event that was very important to him, which he communicated." So there's no story there. The Jets knew he wasn't going to be there. He told them, even though they said, "Well, we're not giving you permission to be there. It's not a big deal." He's the only one that's not really contract related. The rest of the holdouts tend to be contract related. So another one with the Jets is Hassan Reddick. So are you going to say something, Keith, on you?
I would say the Aaron Rodgers one.
Oh, sorry, wrong Keith.
Forget the trades. Go for it, bud.
I was just going to say, when you say there's no story with the Aaron Rodgers one, there is a story with the Aaron Rodgers one, because that's Aaron Rodgers being Aaron Rodgers, and he's an absolute pain in the neck.
There's also that. But from a footballing point of view, there's no...
From a footballing point of view, there's no story. He's all in, except he's not really all in. Right, okay.
You've got to be worried, though. That he's away chasing a wolf or something and getting some peyote, like that Simpsons episode. Just worried that he's going into another wee retreat, going to meet some ayahuasca somewhere up in the thing. He's going to get lost in the Amazon somewhere. It's just weird. The fact that they're not giving much more information about it's curious. But I believe he was already at some of the OTAs. So he has made an appearance.
Yeah. In the off season, so it's not. There is really no big story. The rumours were that he was on the campaign trail with Robert Kennedy or something like that. Was one of the rumours that was bouncing about and stuff like that. Right. Yeah, so Salah said, we've not given him permission to be there, but he's on holiday or whatever it is, and it's not a big deal really. Sticking with the Jets, Hassan Reddick's another one he's holding out. Salah again, he's not worried about it. Reddick knows where he needs to be fit for the season. Salah's not worried. It tends to be that obviously they traded for him. He's only got 1 year left in his deal. He wants a new contract, so I've joined you. Give him a new contract. Is kind of the line that he's taken. Again, Salah doesn't seem maybe too worried about it. It seems to be something that's going to be sorted. Sounds
like the Eagles have played an absolute blinder here. They've got a player to replace Reddick from the Jets and sent an unhappy player to the Jets who I believe that Salah hasn't actually spoken to. He's not spoken to him before he's actually joined the team. Nobody's actually seen him since he's joined either. So there's something weird there. Like you say, holding out for a new contract, try to just get yourself into a better financial position, but that's a weird one. It's not going to fill the rest of the locker room with confidence in him, I would think.
I think it's one of those strange situations with American sports where Reddick didn't want traded. The Eagles are traded him. He's not really getting any choice in the matter. So he's like, well, I don't really want to go here. I don't want to move. Give me a new contract or I'm not going to play for you. You know what I mean? So that is the beauty of American sports, where the players don't really get a choice in where they're going unless they've got that relationship with their current club, which we've seen with some teams. On the contract front, and I'm going to play this one because this one's massive for us, is CD Lamb's obviously holding out. The Bleacher Report had a rundown of all these players and kind of the risk level, like 1 to 10, 10 being the riskiest situations. They had CD Lamb at a 1. They're like, it's no risk. He's going to sign the contract. It's just a case about numbers. They're talking about obviously the Justin Jefferson contract is going to bump up again. Jamar Chase. So I think it's a kind of situation now where out of Jamar Chase, CD Lamb, and Justin Jefferson, they're all waiting to see who went first. I think Amari Cooper's waiting for a contract. Brandon Ayuk's waiting for a contract as well, but I don't think the two of them are at that level where they're going to be demanding that type of money. So obviously Jefferson's in first, so Chase and Lamb are probably now sitting thinking, right, who's going to go next between the two of us? Because whoever goes next, that person can go higher again. So it's kind of a big game of cat and mouse in terms of the wide receiver contract market at the moment. Jefferson probably is the best in the league. Can CD Lamb and Jamar Chase ask for more than him, or are they kind of looking for numbers just at the same level, just slightly below? That's kind of what we'll see as it plays out. But I'm not worried about CD Lamb. The Cowboys aren't worried about CD Lamb. The deal will get done. It's just a case of when. Amari Cooper, as I mentioned there, he's holding out for a new contract. He's got 1 year left. Brandon Ayuk, he's been talked about a lot in the offseason about, is he staying at the 49ers? Is he going? Has he been traded? Whatever's happening. 49ers have said they want to keep him. I just don't think the numbers are matching up at the moment. I think Ayuk's asking for... he's had a couple of good seasons, but I've not seen any numbers, but he seems to... whatever he's asking for, the 49ers aren't willing to pay it.
I think I'd seen that 49ers are offering round about the 25 million, whereas he's holding out for the 30 million for Ayuk. Just come back to the other ones, Keith, that bring you in this one. You're the GM at the Bengals, and you're the GM the Cowboys. With Justin Jefferson getting his deal, was it 35 million? It roughly works out as an average over the 3 years. Do you try and boost your guys' morale by edging it a wee bit more than that? Or do you say, listen, you've not done as much as this guy. He's the official best player in the league. You've got to work to that. How would you aim it for him?
It's a difficult one. The Bengals are notoriously like tight-fisted. At least they certainly used to be. I think that Justin Jefferson makes some outrageous catches and that, and it plays in a system that plays to his strengths. I suppose that there's not much between these guys, and that's the thing, that usually when somebody does it, the next person's just got to be that little bit more.
Yeah.
And I don't think you're going to get a situation where you get one of the guys who's the elite receivers who gets his deal, and the next guy is going to say, yeah, I'll settle for the one that's slightly less than that. I just don't think that really happens. So I think it's always got just to be, even if it's like some kind of like smoke and mirrors thing, and make it look better. Because usually, reading Pro Football Talk usually gives a breakdown of all these kind of things. That it is what you get told, and the actual truth of a contract is usually two different things, and it's all kind of manipulated. So no matter what happens, I'm sure they'll make it sound that each receiver who gets signed, his deal is slightly better, and he's now the highest paid receiver in NFL history or whatever.
I think the Vikings have actually been really, really clever getting JJ's deal done early, because it is going to kind of push the top wide receivers in the league that wee bit more, and kind of force the hand of the other teams. The other thing is that the salary cap keeps going up each year. So the percentage that that 35 million is going to be against the salary cap, that's going to drop down a wee bit as well. So they're not really going to notice it too much when it comes to their squad building.
Yeah,
I think Jefferson will miss Kirk Cousins a bit.
Yeah,
I think that will probably play into his numbers this year.
Yeah.
There was talk, was it last year, but he was saying that he wasn't signing a new deal unless Cousins was going to be there. So that's kind of paid to that one. 35 million a year, certainly. That's one way to talk him round, isn't it?
35 million or Kirk Cousins, I'll take the 35 million then. I mean, I think what's going to happen is you're going to get Jamar Chase will sign the average 35.1 million deal. CD Lamb was a 35.2 million deal, and then that'll be the highest paid. That's kind of the way it's going to work. You see, I think a lot is going to be about guaranteed money as well. So I think the average yearly salary is what it looks big, but I think these players are more interested in much money am I guaranteed. That's my future, is that money.
Yeah.
So I think the number on the front kind of looks good and kind of a PR and the highest paid average quarterback in the league, but the players are thinking, well, much guaranteed money am I getting? That's what's more important. How much performance bonuses am I getting? I think that's where the numbers sometimes don't add up with what the players expect.
I didn't realise until fairly recently that the players get paid only like during the regular season. Like they get their paycheck every week during the season, not out of the season.
Yeah. So that 35 million for the year is only paid for the 20 odd
weeks 1 to 17.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So players get injured and they're free agents. They're basically getting no income coming unless they're getting endorsements and stuff like that. But a player who is injured and is a free agent has basically got. I mean, they'll probably have insurances. These players will have insurances, but in terms of actual salary, well, if a free agent, they wouldn't get a salary anyway. But he says, in the offseason, it's all paid across. I think what I'm not 100% sure how they break them, but sometimes I think they'll get paid over the year, but the actual salary only counts for the season. So I think it just depends on each team. But they paid 35 million a year to work 6 months of a season or something like that.
I think it's like 60% of former players end up bankrupt within a couple of years of leaving the league, and you can understand if they're getting a big lump sum at the certain point in the season, then just blowing it all after that. We were talking about what was that, mate?
Bankrupt and crippled. You hear some of the stories about guys who are in their 40s and can't walk and stuff like that, and their hips are done, their knees are completely done.
It's the fingers that are all over the place as well.
There's some horrible stories, to be honest.
I think you something you said about, I can't remember who was it, somebody recently, and I had a conversation with somebody about this, about the players and the financial, and it's like, they go out and, because it's a status symbol, so they go out and spend all this money on the cars and the houses, but it's not like they're buying them outright. They're taking them on finance deals or big, massive mortgages. Suddenly their career's finished and they're still, wait a minute, I've still got this mortgage. Because if they're buying a £35 million house, that's not getting paid off across a career, realistically. Do you know what I mean? Unless somebody's got a part of their homes who's building his own house. But these players at the end of their career are still going to have huge mortgage payments. They're going to have the flashy car, because they need to keep the status symbol going once they stop playing. I'm a former NFL player. This is my big house. This is my fancy cars. One player I love for this, it just goes off topic, but because Chad Ochocinco, he drives a smart car. He's always on Twitter talking about how he doesn't spend money because it's my money. I don't need to spend it. He drives a smart car. He buys clothes faking at Target and your average stores. He doesn't go and spend flashy money. And it's brilliant to watch him on Twitter. He just, and it's not even just all talk. He does actually drive a smart car.
Yeah.
We were talking about the Vikes there and JJ, but they've named Sam Darnold as their starting QB and looking for a competitive environment from JJ McCarthy with them. How long do you think before we're seeing McCarthy taking the reins there?
Well, I'm actually quite surprised that they didn't put McCarthy straight in, given that he, in many ways, you would think he was the most NFL ready of any of the quarterbacks because of the system. And I don't think he's going to ever be a particularly good. I think he's overrated. His draft position was exaggerated. I don't think it was that great. So I'm not expecting too much from the Vikings, actually. I think they're going to take that big step back.
Is this the Bears mask coming down here? Is that?
I mean, one thing I'd say about the Vikings is I really like those white uniforms. They're absolutely sensational. But
they are fast.
I don't think that I wouldn't be worried about like somebody like JJ McCarthy as quarterback and Sam Darnold. You know what you're getting. So
I think
not worried.
The key of this is that he's been named QB1 for training camp, but he's not been named QB1 to start week 1. I do think Sam Darnold does start as QB1 in week 1, but I don't think it will last long. I think once McCarthy gets used to that playbook, once he gets used to the players, the Vikings, Sam Darnold, we've all seen him playing different teams. He's a decent backup quarterback. He's not your QB1. The Vikings probably won't go off to a good start as a result of that, and they'll pull the trigger on McCarthy very early, I think. But I think you said the system there, Keith, something you said. McCarthy is the perfect quarterback for the Vikings in that system, which is why, and we had conversations around about draft time, and I said he would go to the Vikings, but the Vikings had to go up and get him because if they didn't, somebody else would have taken him. So his draft position might flatter him a bit, but the Vikings had to go and take him at that position or they weren't getting him. And they were like, all their eggs were in the big JJ McCarthy basket. So they knew if they didn't take him, was it 7, wasn't it? Or 9, they had to take him there, otherwise they weren't getting him. So his position might flatter him, but it's one of those situations where a team really wants a specific player and they'll take them as soon as they possibly can. And I think, I've seen a bit of him in college, not a lot, but I think he's a quarterback does seem to fit that system the Vikings have got. So sometimes you need to adapt a quarterback to a system or a system to a quarterback, whereas he's pretty much plug and play for that Vikings team. So I think he'll do well. I don't think he's going to. The first season, I think he might take a wee step back, like you said, but I think that's purely just because he's not that elite rookie quarterback. He's not like your Caleb Williams who's going to come in and make a massive difference. But then you think about it, Caleb Williams is kind of in a position where he can really only make the system and the team better, whereas McCarthy's going into a system where the team they're decent, they're maybe good, so he's not going to take them straight to the next level, but I don't also think he's going to drop them at the bottom. So I think he maybe keep the Vikings around about where they were, maybe drop a couple of games of a difference, but I think in the long term, I think JJ McCarthy could make a success in Minnesota with the weapons that he's got.
I fully intend to. I think I'll definitely see him come week 5 in the London game against the Jets. I managed to get tickets to that thanks to Scud, one of the guys from the crew. He's managed to get us a couple of some tickets. So really looking forward to that. It'll be my first NFL game and my first time in Spurs Stadium, which I really, really cannot wait.
You'll love it. The whole thing is phenomenal. I was at the Cowboys game. It's been back a few years now, but the whole everything you see on the telly, about everything around about an NFL game, it
Yeah.
is true. It really is. The whole day, the experience is unbelievable. And even like going to be as a neutral, you don't really have any kind of investment in either team, so you can just enjoy the occasion, which you really will enjoy it because it's everything that you think it will be and more.
Nah, I can't wait. Have you been down to many yourself, Keith?
I only went down to the Bears one in 2011, but what was a really nice thing was that we went down on the Saturday and through Twitter found where all the Chicago sports journalists were having a meetup in a pub in London, and so I just went along, and it was a really good night because it was like with Albert Breer and a couple of the other like Bears beat writers were all there, and then the guy who started Pro Football Focus, can't remember his name now, Neil something. That he launched it, so it'd been going a few years then, but that's before it became really, really massive. So it was just like a group of like 7 or 8 journalists, me, just having a few beers and chatting about football stuff, and it was just phenomenal.
I'm starting to get a bit of stalker vibes here, by the way. I'm starting to get a bit of Bears stalker vibes. Team hotels, journalists, pubs.
It's about being well connected or making yourself well connected.
Listen, that's why he's not been to Chicago to see them get shot.
Got a restraining order out on him.
No, listen, we're going to have to compare notes because I'm very much like that myself. I like to just sneak in and get chatting to a few people and not compare notes for our trip down to London. Looking forward to that. Oh, terrific.
I think the tickets for the Bears one don't go on sale till next week. Or have you got tickets already? Cause I've got an email that's saying it's the 20th of June that they all go on sale or something.
As I said, it was one of our pals, Scud, that got tickets. He's got the season ticket.
Right, okay.
So it was
quite handy.
So Jets and the Vikes game. So cannot wait. It's going to be absolutely amazing. Let's see other news then. Madden 25 really could only be one guy from last season, and it's my son's favourite player. Being a Seahawks fan, it kills me, but Christian McCaffrey on the cover of Madden 25. Dan, you talked about the Madden curse. Talk us through that for some people are not familiar with this.
Crystal, isn't it? If you end up on the cover of Madden, you end up either having a bad season or picking up an injury, or basically all the hype around about you just magically disappears because of something that happened. So I've got a quick list here of previous Madden cursed players. This is kind of since 2001, so I'll pick a few. I'll not go through massive ones. So 2001, it was Eddie George, running back for the Titans. He rushed for 1,500 yards that season, but he also had the most number of fumbles he ever had in his career. So that was a bit of a curse. But that was his last big season after being on the Madden cover. After that, kind of nothing else really happened for him. Michael Vick, number 1 pick, cover, broke his leg less than a week after the game was released. So there's a bit of curse there. Ray Lewis was one he was not cursed, so we've got a few that weren't cursed in there. Recently, the curse hasn't really existed in the last few years. So with Josh Allen last year, Bills had a good season last year. Year before, also we had the tribute to Madden on the cover. With Brady and Mahomes the year before, nothing there. Jackson, no curse. Mahomes, no curse. So the last player that was cursed, it probably is the biggest impact a Madden curse has ever had on a player, and it was Antonio Brown. Madden curse, basically, you ruined his life. Everything just went down. The less we say about Antonio Brown, the better. But we've not had any curses in the last 4 years, so let's hope that Christian McCaffrey doesn't bring the curse back.
Don't know. 2 games this season. I hope he gets cursed anyway.
It's the only hope you've got.
So only hope it absolutely is.
I won't tell your boy you said that. Don't worry, I'll keep it a secret.
I'm telling you, McDonald had the 49ers bank to rights last year at the Ravens. So I'm holding out hope.
We had good players at the Ravens.
That's true. A couple of years of drafting before we get there. Other big news from the week: Mike Tomlin, 17 years a Steeler plus 3 more. I like the recreation of his signing on in the. Oh, it was class. Hairstyles are looking terrific. Guys, the two of them are still looking fantastic. They are nowhere near stressed enough for the position, the job that they're doing. How do you think? Do you think that's a good move for the Steelers to keep Tomlin on for that? Just making sure that they've got a winning record. Is that really going to push the team onwards? Can you see them getting anywhere near a championship game or a Super Bowl game in the next couple of years? Dan, what do you think?
I mean, Mike Tomlin, I bet against him last year. My hot take on last season that Mike Tomlin would have his first losing record season, because I thought the Steelers were going to be an absolute dumpster fire this year. They weren't great, but he got a winning record, so he stuck it right up me. But the Steelers have been probably arguably the team that has had the best off-season. A couple of them are up there, but the Steelers had an absolute phenomenal off-season. We obviously know they picked up Patrick Queen for the Ravens. That's a phenomenal pickup to get him into their D. We obviously all know about Russell Wilson and then the surprise of picking up Justin Fields. So they're protecting themselves short-term, long-term at quarterback position. As you said, Keith, Justin Fields started coming out of a game last season and he kind of showed what he can do. I feel that obviously Caleb Williams, but that's going to be to the Steelers positive for them that they've got him. And then their draft was phenomenal. I mean, the players that they picked up on draft, 5 of them will probably start week 1, which doesn't sound like a lot, 5 players, but very unlikely you're going to get 5 players that are going to come in and demand. 3 of them are on the O-line. So for 3 players to be drafted on the O-line and come in and start week 1, they're going to be good. The only thing that they're missing is a number 1 wide receiver at Pittsburgh. They've not had one probably since Antonio Brown. Do you know what I mean? But when he was at his peak, the Steelers are missing that number 1 receiver. They picked up Roman Wilson in the 3rd round, who's got good potential, but is he a WR1? We don't actually know how that's going to work out. But I think it's a smart move with the Steelers. Steelers know Tomlin. Tomlin knows the Steelers. He's not really done anything to warrant being sacked. Do you know what I mean? He's winning record every year. He's had success with them in the past. And I think the owners there are very realistic. They know that the team they've got is not going to get into the Super Bowl. Do you know what I mean? But they have the faith in that Mike Tomlin is the coach that will take them back there. They just need to build around them. So, I mean, I think it works for all parties. Mike Tomlin, I think, if he had left, would be in high demand in the NFL. Someone I've loved to have at the Cowboys. So I think it works well for them. They're building, and they obviously still have the faith in Mike Tomlin after so many years to still be that head coach that's going to rebuild again. And let's compare it to the old Sir Alex Ferguson team. He had success and he rebuilt. Mike Tomlin is what they see is that he's had their success. He knows what it takes to get them there. He built that team in the first place, and they've got the faith in him to do it all again.
They're just a great reflection of the city of Pittsburgh. Just a hard-working team, just like a blue-collar, hard-working city there as well. We've always got a really good defense, one that you're always looking to pick up in your fantasy drafts as well. What do you make of Justin Fields going there then, Keith?
I think it was a great move for him. I think the Bears wanted to help him get to a place that would suit him, and they were quite accommodating of that. I'd love it if he could unseat Russell Wilson. I think he's whether or not he gets a chance to do that, he might be used as like some kind of like gadget player or something like that, or to used in certain situations, kind of like how the Saints use Hill sometimes. I mean, I loved Justin Fields for the Bears. Some of his highlight plays are just phenomenal. But watching the games like week in, week out, I think it's whenever you saw that kind of downfield pass that as the screen moves, you've kind of got a feeling with a quarterback as to that's going to be on target or something like that, you know. Yeah. And with him, he never quite had that confidence that was what was going to happen. And so the lows were a little bit too low, and it was a bit inconsistent. But I was a big fan. It was kind of like a bit sad the way it worked out, but actually it was really like watching the Chicago fan base between Fields and leading up to when they drafted Williams was pro fields and anti fields were it was a really toxic thing going on in the fan base there. It's incredibly full on. You couldn't like Williams because if you were a pro fields guy, you know. So, but I think we're in a better place now. But I really, really hope that he flourishes at Pittsburgh. It's only like a 1 year deal, though, isn't it? So he might find somewhere else off the back of it. But I only want the best for him as a player, and apparently he's a fantastic person as well in the locker room and in the city and everything like that. And the other players all loved him. So, hope for the best for him.
I think he will upseat Russell Wilson. I said the Americans that Russell Wilson, I think, is done. I mean, when he went to the Broncos, the Steelers, I think, have picked him up at the point because he was, I'm going to say, the easy option from the Justin Fields wasn't an option at that point. I think if the option at the time was Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, they would have went Fields and wouldn't have went Wilson. Or they would have taken Wilson after, but I think the Steelers thought we need someone who's a safe pick now to get us going. Yeah. And then Justin Fields obviously became available, and I think they picked him. So I think Justin Fields, again, very similar to what we spoke about with J.D. McCarthy. I think Justin Fields will be starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers very, very quickly in the season because Russell Wilson is done. I think that Justin Fields, like you said, I think he just needs a bit of love and a bit of a coach that's going to guide him and support him. And I think Mike Tomlin is exactly the type of coach that will do that. And a point you made there about a team, and that's just Justin Fields is an example of what I mentioned earlier. There's some players who their current team will help them get somewhere they want to go. And Justin Fields came out and said to the Bears, I only want to go to X, Y, and Z. Don't want to go anywhere else. The Bears didn't just get rid of him. They waited until the Steelers was one of the teams they said he would go to. Steelers came in and the Bears honoured that. And I think that's a very unusual example, but it shows you the respect that Justin Fields had from the owners at the Bears.
Yeah. I hope he does make it at the Steelers. Otherwise, I can see him just going to the Colts and being using them for spare parts for Anthony Richardson, just to to build him back up again. Right, guys, we have been blethering on for almost an hour now, so let's bring this to a conclusion. Then we've got a wee 2-minute drill down. We have been delighted to have Keith join us, and so your 2-minute drill down, that's something we'll share on social media as well, is which American football moment would you like to see immortalised by Keith at some point? As we know, Keith's going to be super busy over the next couple of weeks with the Euros, but if he gets a chance to immortalise an amazing moment in American football history with one of his fantastic sketches, what would you like to see? So we'll put that out there, see what people come up with, and if you get a chance, my friend, it would be amazing to see some of the wonderful artwork that you've done. As I said, the stuff that you're doing, and you mentioned that you're getting commissions to do work for magazines and pieces. Your website's fantastic. I'm going to be going on to, I don't have a Scotland top for the Euros. I had got a polo shirt from Classic Football Shirts, but I was far too optimistic. I think it's running through the country a wee bit much. I went for a large, and that's a long way away. That was a couple of qualifications ago that I was a large. So get up at tweets.com and get one of your Tartan Army t-shirts, because they're absolutely fantastic.
The Scotland jumping ones are brilliant with the pint. I love that. That is brilliant. Something I had a quick look through your website before we came on, Keith, and a thing in our group chat and in the crew, guy Stu, he lives out in Canada, but he's a massive Kelly fan. Yes. And I found you moan the Kelly with the guy with the seat above it. I hadn't seen that before. I thought that was brilliant. Keith, I'm just going to throw in my answer to the 2-minute drill because I had this one prepared and I had to say it. My NFL moment, it's not a game moment. I'd love to see you draw Travis Kelce in the crowd at Buffalo last season. I think that would be hilarious. Topless Travis Kelce in the crowd. Not Travis Kelce, Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce.
Oh, was that when he was chugging the beer and all that?
Aye, he was and jumped out the hospitality box into the crowd topless because he was absolutely steaming. That would be my NFL moment. I think would be hilarious to see. But yeah, just to echo what Keith said. Keith, thanks for joining us tonight. We all love your work and something we always look forward to. So we're really looking forward to see. Can you give us any sneak info on anything you've got lined up for the Euros?
Well, Euros, I'll just be drawing most games, not all games, I don't think, but more kind of like as well focusing on stuff that happens outside of the games, make it a bit more like a kind of diary thing rather than just goal recreations, possibly. And NFL wise, once the Euros is out the way and all that, I hope to be drawing more like NFL stuff to put in the shop, but also to have like a dedicated channel towards American football tweets.
Yes.
And keep that kind of a wee bit separate from the regular football tweets. So not quite worked out how I'm going to do that yet and how it, but I want to kind of keep that as a channel and grow that and try to build like an audience, an American audience as well as a British one.
CRU will definitely be behind you on that.
Oh, absolutely. We'd love to get you back on the podcast again sometime, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, I've loved it. Thank you. It's really good to chat NFL stuff. I absolutely love it. And I don't get much chance to do that.
Do as much as you want with us now.
Thank you.
Make sure you are following at Fitba Tweets and soon to be at the American Fitba Tweets on X, Instagram, I'm guessing everywhere. Your website's fantastic as well at Fitba, www.fitbatweets.com, and get all your merchandise and your gear there as well. Keith, it's been an absolute pleasure. Until next time, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Dan, superb as always, my friend. It's been great chatting some ball with you, and look forward to the next time.
Yeah, we're rolling tomorrow night with Scotland at the Euros, and then we'll be back chatting NFL next week.
Off, I'm on Steve Clark's Tartan Army. Looking forward to it. That's been Keith. That's been Dan. I've been loaded with a cold, and I'm going to my bed. So thank you very much for listening, and we will speak to you next week.